Um, so for those who want to know why uh, I am interested in these Xhosa historical text and the study that I'm doing, I'm currently doing masters in conflict um, transformation and management, and this came about as a result of me realizing when I was looking into leadership development that most of the text that is used either to train our leaders or to judge proper leadership, we normally revert to Eurocentric barometer. We normally revert to the so-called educational literature that we've studied at university and yes, and sometimes we just normally just refer to political leadership that we know very well. And the political leadership in the country is very important. You can't dismiss the work that has been done at a political level to liberate the country. Also, my interest was sparked after reading, even before, but after reading Professor Andre Odendaal's book on the founders, and he talks about 60 years before the establishment of the ANC, so from 1912 backward, not from 1912 towards our time, from 1912 into the 18th century, the 19th century, the 1800s. So I realized that there's so much history that we do not know. We don't know about what was happening in the 80s. We don't know. We talk nje haphazardly. We sikhe entloko yonke le nto lena. Neenkosi zethu, uNkosi uPhalo, amaRharhabe, oGcaleka, amaMpondo, abaThembu, amampondomise, and amabomvana. We just sort of talk. We don't have proper timelines that we can look at and either draw comparison or just to know what was happening. For instance, in the 1800s, in the European context, you had abantu abafana no Karl Marx, abantu abafana no Friedrich Nietzsche. You have abantu who were doing intellectual work and were recording it and were part of intellectual discourses of the day. And then Tina, what I knew confidently was largely the ANC history of South Africa. If not the ANC history of South Africa, I knew or learned about the apartheid narration or the apartheid government narration of the South African history. So between the ANC and the apartheid government, our knowledge reside. And this is incorrect, this is wrong. There were so many people, there were kingdoms, there was teaching, there's a history that exists there that we don't know about. Mna ndiphumile esikolweni before I could actually learn in detail about that history. So I had to recalculate for myself and re-educate myself and take the necessary process that it requires, because I can't learn it as a student now. So take a book here and listen to a documentary there, speak to elders there, finding out, attending as many lectures as I could, public lectures, because I stay in a university town, like a university city in Esmandela Bay, at Gqeberha. So we have a benefit of a university that is here, that we can engage and find out a big library that they have that we can actually access. So I realized that I needed to make this reading for myself, and create a curriculum that I can start learning about who I am. And growing up in King Williamstown, I was born as Wilicha. And then for some time, I think up until I was 12, up until I was 11, I stayed there, and then I moved to Port Elizabeth, then now Gqeberha. So I'm a child of the township. Zwelitsha is more rural than New Brighton, but you know, and in New Brighton I was staying Vuku. So I missed a lot of the Xhosa traditional cultural processes, understandings, and appreciation, which I would have really been happy to. And the earliest memories I have was utatomkhulu wasekhaya, not my direct tatomkhulu, but uzalana notatomkhulu mama, utata kamamam, and ubabu Elijah Fasi, abase Mtanzania, who passed away. So I was starting to learn from him, handling imisebenzi yasendlini, but I was still like 10 years, even less, yes, younger than 10 years when he passed away, I think, because I remember his memory quite faintly, but I have certain memories that I remember about him, and I was really appreciative of the person that he was. I knew there was order when he came, and I knew that everything would happen in a particular way that is dignified. And I grew up in a family that has really made alcohol its crutch. So, in most cases, our parents were in Johannesburg, like my mother was in Johannesburg most of my youth, in a way that I don't even have a close relationship as much as I think some of you have with your mothers. And this is because she had to go and work. And therefore I stayed as Wilicha. And there are so many things that I really would like to unfold over time. But I'm trying to show you how disconnected I am, and from my history, and how I'm trying to reposition myself in a proper way, in an intelligent way as well, within Ubuxhosa again. And then my dad also passed away around 2013, the same year as Mandela passed away. And even then, we missed, and in the Mazis 12, when I moved to PE, I was coming to stay at his family place, and then stayed with him for a year, and it's a whole long story. My point is that we don't know much. I mean, at the time when there were there were 9 dispossession wars in the Eastern Cape in 1779 to 1879, we were fighting wars. During that period, in the 1800s, the Herald newspaper at Gqeberha was being established. During that period, Standard Bank and FNB as banking institutions were being established. During that period, the intellectual movement of our Karl Marx and their philosophies, the philosophers in the West, was really prime, and a lot of things was happening. And the education system in America that taught some of our African leaders, some of whom started and founded the ANC, about Pixley, Kaseme, and others. So there's a whole gap of knowledge and timelines that we are missing, we've missed, and we then need to make the connections ourselves, because if we don't know that African of that day and that struggle of that hour, we probably will not appreciate the freedom as much as we should that took all these years to attain. And also, we might not even know what to do with the freedom. And I think I'm raising this because I'm already sensing that we are misusing the blood and sweat that went into getting this freedom. We think it's about us only. It's about a people.